welcome to my studio. Today I am working on an English paper piecing project. About 2 months ago I did a little bit of hand quilting on a different project, and all of a sudden hand sewing and hand quilting, which I have always loathed, appealed to me. And I got the genius idea to just cut out an entire EPP quilt before I even had the templates. It seemed like a great idea, and so far it is working. I've thread basted all of my templates, all I think almost 1,000 that I need. I chose thread basting because I had some ugly thread that I wanted to get rid of on hand, and I did not have glue sticks on hand. And I know it's a little bit slower, or a lot slower maybe, than glue basting, but I gotta be honest, I really enjoyed the process of it and the dexterity that you need to do it. So it was a good choice for me. I also am using 100% scraps for all of these diamonds and stars, and they are all fabrics from different projects that I've made throughout the years. So it was nice that as I was thread basting them, I got to see each fabric up close and sort of revisit what project that was used in, and did I enjoy it? Did I love it in that project? Would I use it differently in the future? Do I have enough of it left in my stash? So I enjoyed thread basting. And on the subject of all the different fabrics, there's 600 some diamonds throughout this entire project, which means I have at least 300 different fabrics in this. Had you asked me before I cut everything out, do you have 300 different fabrics in your scrap bins? I probably would have naively said no. Now I'm very aware that I have more than that, because I didn't even touch most of my black, gray, brown, white, cream scraps, and there were some that I didn't have enough of to get a diamond out. And while I limited myself to 2 diamonds of each fabric, some of them I only had enough for 1. So there's more than 300 in here. So yeah, apparently I have a lot of scraps and a lot of variety in my scraps. But it's been really nice to work on this. It's been a really slow, meditative process, which I think is why people like English paper piecing. But I just wanted to, walk you through what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. Reminder, this is my first ever EPP project, so I might be doing it wrong. I don't think I am. I feel like I did a lot of research, so I think I'm doing it okay. But I'll walk you through sort of how I thread based the diamonds, the hexagons, and then how I'm assembling it. I am using, it's the Midnight Feast pattern by Tales of Cloth, and I'm following the instructions. So if you want to follow along, go ahead and head there and you can do your own, but nothing new or revolutionary. The way that I assemble the actual shapes together is sort of an in-between of a lot of different styles that I saw. So I'll show you that a close-up. And I guess right now everything seems to be lining up. Once I start putting all the stars and the hexagons together, maybe that's when I'll find out that the way I'm doing it isn't working so well. Sort of risking it for the biscuit right now, because I could totally start assembling a row just to check. But I'm going to do all the stars first, and I think it's going to work. I think it's going to be fine. I hope. So I have lots of different materials here to show you how I thread baste. First, I've got my thread. This is just, I don't know, maybe Coats and Clark's. I bought it a long time ago. So I'm just gonna thread my needle. And then I'm gonna tie what I've learned is called a quilter's knot. Put your thread down, put your needle down over the thread. Then you're just gonna wrap a couple times and then pull your needle through, pinching those wraps, and magically, whoopsies, magically they form a knot. I don't know how it works, but it does. Next, when I pre-cut all of these fabrics, I was very generous with my seam allowance. I'm now, as I'm thread basting, coming back in and just cutting off a little bit of that excess because it's not, so when I was thread basting all of these diamonds, I was folding over one side and two side. And I like to work as much as I can with like an assembly line sort of mentality. So I'd go through and do many of these, clipping them like that, put them all aside, and then come back with my needle and thread and actually do the basting. For demonstration purposes, I'm just going to show you the whole thing right now. So I'm just going to finger press that seam down, and then I'm just going to fold it. Then take my, pop my thimble on, and then I'm going to take my needle. I'm just going to punch right through. Whoops. And right back. Done. And then I'm going to finger press this next seam down, sort of turn my work, fold it over, but through all those layers, I'm just going to punch right through and back up. We'll take off our clip. We're going to finger press, fold over, through, and back up. This last one, you sort of have to tuck in. And so it's nice to use your thumbnail to make sure it's folded in there. And then you just punch through, back. And then on this last side only, I'm going to come back out and then back up. And I like to come back up through that same hole that I was using previously because it's one less hole in the cardboard. And then trim. And there you have a thread basted diamond. With thread basting, you do go through the paper. With glue basting, obviously you don't have any punches through the paper. I don't know, I've been enjoying the thread basted. Okay, so I actually couldn't find a piece of the material I was using big enough, but that's okay. So I'm gonna use this instead. So I'm just gonna come in and cut off this excess, at least my sides. So here's what I was doing for the hexagons. I would fold down one side and clip. Fold down the opposite side and clip. And then a lot of times I'd come in and clip two more. I sort of learned that that wasn't necessary. I could get away with these three or not even the sides, but this is how I was doing it most of the time. So I'll show you that. Just like the diamond, we're going to start where this last clip is. So finger press, fold down, punch through all your layers, and then push up. Repeat. Now, a trick I learned after about the 200th is that you don't have to pull your thread all the way through with each stitch. You can sort of get away with doing 3, sometimes even 4 stitches at a time before you pull everything through. And when I was doing these, I was starting with a really long thread. That way I only had to, I don't know, thread a needle so many times. But just punch, up, punch, come up. And then just like on the diamond, this last one, you have to sort of nestle it right in. And then you punch, come up, and then again, I'm going to take that one extra stitch just to sort of secure everything and come right back in that previous hole, if possible. And then I'm just going to cut, and there we have a basted hexagon. Okay. So now we're going to assemble a star. It's pretty easy. I'm going to start with one of my little pre-assembled packets. It's just 6 diamonds. It's going to be fun to see what's in this because I don't really know until I open them. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I've got my needle over here. I'm going to tie my knot. 1, 2, 3. I found that 3 works the best. 2 sometimes slips through the fabric. Then I'm going to pop open my thread conditioner. So first things we're going to do, we're going to assemble the bottom half of our star and the top half of our star. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to just fold these over. I'm going to line them up. I'm just going to take my needle through just a couple threads on each of these. Let me bring this a little closer. And I don't know why I went this way because normally I go this way. But we're just going to pop through a couple threads. And right on the edge here, I'm going to go through maybe 2-3 times. I just want to really sort of like knot that in place. And on the last one, I'm actually going to go up through my loop once and twice. Great. Now I'm going to do something that's sort of in between. So some people will sew it together with these folded together. Some people open it up and go like this. I was trying this method and having a little bit of difficulty. So I sort of came up with this method where it's like they make like a little tent. So it's somewhere in between the two. I find that I don't see my stitches on the front when it's this way. And if I'm not perfect about only grabbing a couple threads, it doesn't affect the overall width. It's still, it seems to be a nice blend between what I guess is like the traditional method and the flat back stitch. So I'm just going to keep. And again, I have found that you can do a couple stitches, maybe like 3, I think is the limit, at least for me. So I go 1, I'm not pulling my thread all the way through, 2, 3, and then I'll pull it. And when we get to the tippy top, I'm just going to make sure we're coming through here, through this, and then I'm going to sort of loop back around on the outside of these to really lock them in place. So now I'm just going to flip it over onto my yellow, line them up, and then we're going to start sewing. There we go. And again, at this base, I'm going to take a couple extra stitches just to make sure it's really secured. I'm doing them fairly close together. Okay. And then I'm going to, make my little tent again. And just start stitching together. Okay, so we are just going to finish sewing up these pieces. And I'd say my stitches are between a 1/16 and an 1/8 of an inch wide, or set apart. I struggle to get real clarity on how far apart they should be. So this is what, I don't know, feels right to me. I feel like it's secure, but I'm also not spending a lot of time on each seam. And then at the end, I'm just going to come up once, twice, 3 times. Pull, knot, and then cut my thread. And there we have it. And like I said, this method, I feel like there we go. Like you can't really see the stitches on the front at all. So I'm quite happy with it. And it does give you like a little bit of a ridge on the back, but who's going to see that? So I'm going to put together this half now, and then I'll come back and show you how I do the 2 halves together. All right, so I've now sewn up this other side. again, I love this method because even though you're seeing sort of some ridges where the fabric's been pulled really tight, you are not seeing stitches on the front. So big fan. We'll see how it turns out once the papers have been removed. But for now, I'm gonna keep going. To sew my two halves together, just gonna lay them right sides together. And I'm gonna focus first on lining up this end point. I'm sort of not gonna worry about what's happening over here because I know it'll work itself out. But just like I started when I was only sewing two pieces together, I'm gonna come in at this end corner. We're just gonna go a couple stitches, whip together right here. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't even see that. A couple stitches whipped together right here. And then we're going to sort of fold so that the last two rest on top of each other. And then I can sort of, again, make my tent and just keep, oh, that was too much. Just keep piecing them together. And sometimes I use my index finger underneath to sort of pop them open or pop the left one up. Now, about halfway up, I'm just gonna gauge, are my points missing? This feels a little pulled forward, so I'm just gonna sort of snug this side back in and maybe pinch up there. Great. There we go. Now I feel like I'm on the right track again. Okay, and then I'm just gonna come in, get these extra threads out of the way. I'm gonna pick that up, pick this up, and sort of flip this over. I'm gonna pull really tight. Then I'm gonna do one stitch through the tip of this middle one and up through the tip of this guy. Then I'm gonna sort of pull that seam down. I'm gonna come through the tip of this blue and up through the tip of this white. Now, this is where I do fold it again. And I'm gonna pull really tight, just like we did back here. I'm gonna do a couple whip stitches in at the beginning of these two diamonds. We're just gonna put a couple of whip stitches in real close together. Great. Pop it open, make our little tent, be on our merry way. And I'm a couple stitches late on this, but normally, again, about halfway up, I'm gonna make sure that my 2 points up here are lining up, and they are dang on it. So I'm happy with that. And just gonna finish sewing up this end. And then at the end, right through this end, I'm gonna take about 3 stitches, 1, 2, then on this last one, I'm gonna come up through my loop, 1, 2, 3, pull tight, trim my thread, and there we have a beautiful star. Just like that, we got another one done. So that is another star finished. It is definitely one of the more unexpected pairings of 6 different fabrics. We're not going to call it ugly because we are embracing the unexpected. But yeah, onto the pile it goes. I've got, I think, about 40 some odd here, which means I am almost halfway. I need 105. I'm just gonna keep putting them together, and then eventually I'll come back and add the hexagons onto the top of each of them The reason I'm not doing that right now is I'm not sure what I want the top of each one to be. I sort of think I want to get all of the stars made, lay them out, and then mark the top with like a clip or a pin or something, and then add the hexagons. I think that's my plan right now. But this is a project I'm definitely going to be working on for a while at least. So tune back in, and happy quilting.